Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, thank you so much for clicking on this video. I talk all about entrepreneurship, business, employee, management issues, and everything in between. So if you clicked on this video, it's because you've already hopefully decided that you're ready to quit your job and you're looking into what to do before your last day. So sorry, and if you aren't new here, welcome back and thank you so much once again for watching. I am so excited for you if you are ready to quit your job, if you made the decision and you are moving on. I have been there before and I know it can be scary, especially if you haven't lined up your next job quite just yet. It just means that the situation, the circumstances that you're currently in are unbearable and you are ready to move on and get yourself out of that situation. So regardless, I couldn't be happier for you and I am excited and your new journey awaits. So with that said, let's go ahead and get started. 5 actions to take before your last day on the job. So let's get right into it with number 1. Leave a comprehensive plan for your boss or your team if you have direct reports. And the reason why this is so important, even though you are leaving and it might be a negative or a positive situation, it's super important because you made a commitment to that job, to that employer, regardless of, these circumstances. Personally, I believe that you should leave a comprehensive plan for your boss or your team because they are going to be left with a hole of your absence. So by leaving a plan, you're basically allotting them the information they need to continue moving forward even in your absence. So if you're leaving in positive or negative terms, regardless, and I mentioned this in my previous video, you may still need some sort of information or connection to this employer to help get you to your next spot. What do I mean by that? It means at some point in the future, you might need a letter of reference. You might need some sort of tax information. You might need a job verification letter. You have no idea, none of us do, what is coming in the future. And telling you from experience, I was actually in the process of purchasing a home when I was leaving my job and I needed a lot of documentation. I thought I had everything correct and ready to go. But as you know, in escrow, so many things happen. And it turned out I needed to reach out to HR. Luckily, even though I did leave on my own terms and I was upset, I maintained the relationship very professional and I left a very detailed list and plans and instructions for my supervisor and my direct reports. So I felt no distress in asking for the information that I needed, and the response that I got was positive. So once again, number 1, leave a comprehensive plan for your boss and your team. At the very least, share any relevant information that can relate to things that have deadlines or things that could be detrimental to the department, because ultimately you're moving on, right? You're getting out of there, but they still have to conduct business as usual. So that is my first recommendation, just for the fact that you never know if you might want to keep in touch with them. So number 2, gather all relevant information from your email, samples of work, communication, anything of that nature that you feel you might need in the future. So depending again on the reason why you're leaving, it's super important to collect any information from your email, from your drives, from any storage that you have within that employer, just because you don't know if you might need to reference it in the future. So as a disgruntled employee, I pulled all of the communication that I felt was relevant to the reason that I was leaving. So anything that justified my departure. I also pulled my letter of resignation, their responses. I pulled samples of work, and you may need to check your employee handbook to see what the regulations are on that. But I pulled screenshots of the type of work that I do, and I made sure to hide any information that could be a HIPAA or FERPA violation depending on where you work. But this was going to serve as just samples of work for my future planning, whether I was going to be a consultant and be on my own, or whether I wanted to include that in some sort of application to prove my credentials. I pulled all of that. And again, I pulled information that was relevant to the reason why I was leaving. Anything that I felt that I might need to reference or can use to justify my departure, I pulled all of that. And it's super important that you do it in the days before you leave, just because different organizations have different protocols. It turned out that my previous employer cut off email maybe 3 hours before I was set to leave for the day. So if I hadn't pulled that information at the beginning of the week, I would have been out of luck. And there's absolutely no way you can get that once you are out the door. So keep in mind, pull that information as soon as you submit your letter of resignation, not recommendation. As soon as you submit that letter, start making it a priority to pull, save it in your personal files and move on. Number 3, along those same lines, it's super important to pull all of your personal HR related information. So this can include pay stubs, any sort of letters that or contracts that you had with the organization, retirement account information, all of that. Pull as much as you can. I would highly suggest to pull all of your pay stubs that you ever had. Again, just because you don't know what you're going to need in the future. And it is time consuming depending on what platform the organization uses for pay stubs. If you can, let's say you don't have one of those, I would reach out to payroll or HR to pull any relevant information before your departure. They might ask why, and you are totally within your rights to say that it's for your own personal records. Again, as I mentioned in relating back to number 1, you absolutely can still reach out after the fact to the HR department to get a hold of any of those records. But since right now you are still a part of the team, it makes it a little bit easier if you pull that on your own terms. So that is number 3. Pull any HR related information, payroll, stubs, contracts, agreements, and so on. Moving on to number 4, gather contact information for your coworkers, and if possible, ask for letters of recommendation and also offer. This is a huge one, and if you know that you are on your way out, I would try to do this early as well. I know it's number 4. I didn't put these in a particular order, but it should be done before you leave. Anyway, ask for that contact information, ask for those letters of recommendation, and the easiest way to approach it, because it is a little bit of extra work, especially if you work somewhere where everyone has a lot going on and has a lot on their plate. I would try to get this out as soon as possible. At the very least, get their contact info so you can reach out after the fact. I was in a management position, so I had the benefit of being able to offer a letter of recommendation in return. And even if you're not in a management position, as a coworker, your letters of recommendation for another coworker still carry a lot of value. So don't be embarrassed. Offer those. Keep in communication with your coworkers, especially those that you got along with really well and that know your work ethic, because they can serve as a reference as well. So that is number 4. And finally, we made it to number 5. I almost sneezed, so I'm so glad I used the under the nose trick and it went away. But the last but not least is to clean your workspace and your work gear and equipment. So clean, if you are at a brick and mortar location, clean your office space as much as you can. Don't leave, of course, any personal information, any decor, anything that you have up. Most importantly, you want to leave the workstation in the same condition that you got it, right? So at the very least, wipe it down. Also, you want to wipe and clean any tools that you were given to conduct your work. So I know this varies if you work in a restaurant, depending on the type of field of work that you do. But for the most part, the rule of thumb, right, is to just give everything back in the way that you kind of got it. So if you were given a laptop, a work phone, you want to wipe all of the personal information that you have in there. And then same goes for your phone as well. So first, pull the information that you need. Next thing you do is wipe it. So what I like to do is I clear my history, I clear the cookies, I clear anything that I left behind that could have been, that has my information. Sometimes I had autofill options to fill out forms to sign up for conferences. Wipe that. I wiped all of my voicemails and contacts that I had in my phone. Clean it all out. But of course, if your employer asks you to leave anything in there for their reference, I know my employer still left my email up and running just in case I got any correspondence from the state. But I made sure to clear anything that had communication between me and my coworkers about something that maybe wasn't so work related. So if they asked me, hey, what are you doing after work? I deleted any of those casual conversations and got rid of that. So it was wiped. So that is number 5. Before you leave, make sure to wipe everything, clean it up, and give it back and leave it in the condition that you got it in. So guys, that was all 5 actions to take before your last day on the job. And these are actions that are very simple. Some of them you might think, okay, that's pretty, that was a given. But the thing is, a lot of us, when you're in the process of quitting, or maybe you're new, you've never quit before, these things come up after the fact and it might be too late. I know in other jobs that I've left, I've forgotten to wipe my laptop. I've forgotten to pull information, and later after the fact, I'm trying to get a hold of HR, and since I'm not an employee anymore, I'm no longer a priority. Yes, they do have to respond, but you know, it's on their own timeline. So that is why I decided to share this information. Hopefully it helps somebody out there. And I did want to share that I am an employee, but I was also in a management position. So in my next video, I am going to be sharing tips. If anybody out there is in leadership, especially women in leadership, I hope it resonates with you, and I will be sharing that soon. So thank you so much for watching. Again, I appreciate you. If you love what you saw today, if you liked it, if it resonated with you, please consider hitting the like button and the subscribe button and sharing with your friends. And I will see you in the next one.